Well, I just mentioned the appalling immigration policy the Labor Party has introduced. We are going to be flooded with 650,000 student and migrant visas in the next year or so. We can barely cope with the existing demand for rent and power and health services and the like. This is all being done, make no mistake, it's all being done to try and prop up the budget going forward. It is a Ponzi scheme of economic growth, and historically both parties have been behind it, but never to this level, 650,000. And one of the great cons of this racket is the student visa. See, these are a backdoor way of getting work rights and eventually permanent residency, which then leads on to family reunions and welfare and health care access as well. I've been warning for a very long time about how student visas are being abused. And if you're in any doubt, ask yourself this. Why would a foreign student from China or India want to study here if not for work or residency access? I mean, it's not like our universities are that good. I mean, part of the attraction, I could be wrong, part of the attraction might be that they'll pass anyone who pays the fees and can use ChatGPT to do their assignments. But the students are here for much more than that. And a new report has now exposed exactly what I've been saying for years. To tell us what's going on, I'm joined by the Managing Director of Visa Solutions Australia, Dan Engles. Dan, welcome to Bernardi. What's going on really? What is the scam with student visas?
Well, Cory, we've lost a lot of money over the last couple of years with COVID, and the Prime Minister back in March 2020 said anyone's on a temporary visa should go home. So Australia lost a huge amount of income. So I think every state government has been to India in the last 6 months to try and generate a whole new batch of students. And as you mentioned, the Chinese market's still closed. So what the students are doing is it's legal. They are scamming the system, but it is legal. And because the student visas in Australia are based on a matrix. So depending on what country you're coming from, the passport that you hold, depending on what course you're going to study, and depending on what university you're going to go to, will determine how easy it is for you to demonstrate that you're a genuine student. And it's obviously much easier if you're going to a first-class university. You're saying that you're going to do a bachelor's of something or a master's course, even if you're the holder of an Indian or a Chinese passport. So the problem with the Indian market is that there's a lot of document fraud, and that's been demonstrated over many years. It's well known. But to maximise your chances of being recognised as a genuine student to get into Australia, you would say that you're going to a quality university, you're going to do a bachelor's course or higher, and then when you get here, Cory, you might change your mind. And that's what's happening. So the students who are enrolling in these courses pre-COVID, about 10% of them would change their minds, but the current figures are about 70%. So it's been a massive jump.
So they enrol in a university placement in order to get a student visa here. They change their mind. Does that mean they have to go down into a lower level course? I've heard about baristas and hairdressers a lot, but are there other courses that they're getting into which A, are cheaper, B, they don't have to do any work, and the reason is it frees them up to do more work here?
Yeah, correct. Yes, and over COVID, down essential workers, so anyone who was on any sort of temporary visa, we expanded the ability for them to work without restriction, and students were included in that. But what's happening is the students come here, and a large proportion of them are coming here for economic reasons, as you highlighted, and they're looking for permanent residency in Australia. And to be honest, this is the big issue, is that your education providers will not admit that most of the students that they're selling the education to, it's not the quality of the education. They're looking for a pathway to permanent residence to stay in Australia. I mean, that's the truth of it. So in previous years, you might have heard about the hairdressers and the cooks. And Cory, the reason for that was because hairdressing or cookery or even landscape gardening used to offer the cheapest and shortest pathway to permanent residency. So anyone who was studying a master's in management, for example, if they wanted to stay, they'd be far smarter going to a private college, which was cheaper, studying one of those vocational courses, coming out, applying for PR. Much smarter thing to do.
Well, Dan, I know this scam's been going on. You know it's been going on. We've got a report now into it. Why is the government allowing this to continue? I mean, if a student comes here, shouldn't they be a student and then have to go home? If they want to be a permanent resident, they should apply in the normal way.
Yeah, it's much easier getting permanent residency once you are here in Australia. Let's face it. I mean, if you are trying to convince an employer that you're the right person and you hold a temporary visa, if you're here onshore, Cory, you can actually go and visit the employer. You convince them, face to face. It's near on impossible to do that if you're offshore, even if you hold the skills and you hold the experience. But as soon as you get onshore, then you got many more options. You also get the opportunity to work here as well. Students, as you know, do 24 hours per week. They're allowed to work while their course is in session. When the course is not in session, they can work as much as they like. And your pathways to permanent residency, if for whatever reason you have a visa refused, if it's onshore in Australia, you can take it to the AAT, and the queue to get to the AAT is about 2 years. So you've got that 2 years to work out a plan about how you're going to stay, even if you don't fit the requirements. So, Cory, there's a huge number of benefits in being onshore in Australia. And so the question is, well, how do you get here? And this student visa scam is really just highlighting the fact that there's a lot of people who are applying to say that they want to do study at a good university, they want to study a high-level course, even though they're Indian passport holders. And so they're maximising their chances of getting through with lower evidence requirements.
It's incredible. It beggars belief that successive governments have allowed this to continue. But Dan Engles, we're going to keep on the case and keep putting pressure on them. For Visa Solutions Australia, thank you for being with me on Bernardi tonight.